Please welcome Ms. Sanarshad.
So, the title of my talk today is Shades of Prejudice Unpacking Colorism in Pakistan. When I was choosing the title, I wanted it to embody the colorism that is actually happening in Pakistan. Now, in Pakistan, we experience intra-racial colorism, which is that staying in the same race, we are still prejudicing and discriminating people on different shades of their skin. So that's why we are going to unpack the colorism of Pakistan, which is the prejudice of shades. Now, imagine being told that the most important thing about you is your skin color. How would that affect your self worth? And that is the story of nearly every individual who is dark skinned in Pakistan. We are always told that given your skin tone, given the skin tone of your siblings, your class fellows, your achievements, your success are nothing because your physical attributes are not according to what we think is beautiful. Now that is gonna hurt and traumatize your self-worth. And that is what we're gonna talk about today. Now, given that Pakistan is a country, a very beautiful country of multiple ethnicities, multiple cultures, multiple languages, we have a very different variety of people among us. But living in these different ethnicities, we should be more welcoming towards different ideas, different perceptions, and accepting people. But that is not the case. And now let's explore why that is. Now, Pakistan is a home for 246 million people, nearly. And given that 96% of that population is Muslim population. So not only Islam is the state religion, it also impacts the rules and legislation very much. So given that, we should think that Islam should also have a very important impact on our perceptions. That is true, but to some extent. Now let's see how the colorism acts into that. Now, in the last sermon of Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our last prophet, he said, "All mankind is from Allah and Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab. A non-Arab has no superiority over an Arab. A white has no superiority over a black. A black has no superiority over a white unless of piety and good action." So, in the last sermon, it was very clearly stated that no black has superiority over white or white superiority over black unless you are doing good action. So we should think that when in our state religion something is stated so clearly that this should not be a problem, but it still is. So let's dig into the history of our geographical state to see if we can find the root problem there. Now, our history comprises of two main eras, the Mughal era and the British colonization. Now, the Mughal period started in 1526 and it reigned over nearly 3 centuries. The Mughal era was of grandeur and luxury, of art and of music. During this Mughal era, we had two main influences, aesthetic ideals and casteism, which impacted colorism greatly. In our aesthetic ideals during Mughal era, they were very influenced by the Persian people, their aesthetics, their skin, their way of living, their art. So when the court was being painted or art was being presented, the one which was presented in a very Persian way or in a fair skinned way, it was more impressive and more needed by the Mughals. So basically, they wanted more Persian into their culture. Next is casteism. The Mughals era is known for its casteism. Now, because the lower caste was used to working outdoors a lot, they had very tan skin. So, from there, tan skin started to have a very low impact, and white was given superiority and a symbol for the higher caste. So, from there, it started. The next is the British colonization. Now that started in 1857 and stayed for over an century. Now, the British colonization, when it started, given that the British had white skin, it in itself gave a white superiority that we always saw our superiors as white, which gave the impact that white is superior. And they also started a martial race. In martial race, they wanted to have loyal soldiers. So from the subcontinent, what they would do is they would have people with Eurocentric European physical attributes and add them to this martial race and give them more benefits. So that also added to this whole scenario, and that is where the root problem of colorism in our mind started. Now that we have talked about our history and how it generated, let's talk about why is it happening. So intersubjective perceptions are basically the perceptions that we see in a culture. Now these are the perception that we all share together, and these are greatly impacted by three things: individual perception, inter-individual perception, and supra-individual perceptions. In individual perception, we see the ideas or perception that I as an individual is feeling. In inter-individual, we see that as a society, I feel like I share with you guys. And in supra, it is the perceptions or ideas that I feel like on a cultural basis, these are being practiced. So what this gives us is that even though what we perceive is different, we if we think that something is being perceived by our culture is going to make us more accepted, we will still accept that rather than our own perception, and it will influence that even though it might contradict our own ideals. The next is the psychosocial impact of colorism. Now, colorism starts from the mother's womb. And I don't say that very lightly, I mean that literally. Now, when a woman is pregnant, the most common thing that we see in our society are the myths. Please eat more apples, your baby will be white. Don't drink too much tea, your baby will be dark. So, literally, the impact of colorism is starting when the baby is in the mother's womb. And from that, it carries on to the different stages of the girls or the boys' life. Then we go to the childhood phase. I still remember when I was in my second year, that was the first interaction that really hit me about colorism, that a mother presented in the OPD with a 6-year-old daughter and asked the doctors there to prescribe whitening creams for her. As a second year, that was a very horrifying experience for me, and it stayed with me still, because I was thinking that how is it possible that a mother is taking her daughter to the doctor because she thinks her darker skin is a disease and needs to be treated. And then it goes on to school and moreover. Now, the impact of media is also very great in this. Through advertisements, we are constantly promoting lighter skin, and the heroines in our the main lead roles are definitely fairer skin tones. In literature, we also see that our poets are depicting the main characters as lighter skin, and the physical attributes spoken in the poets' words are for the lighter skin ladies. Now, the impact on dermatology and aesthetics practice. It has a lot of impact on the dermatology and aesthetic practice. First of all, by using whitening creams, what you're doing is you're making patients. You are actually harming your skin more, which will give you more diseases like rosacea, acne, and so much more, hirsutism, which in turn will give you more patients. The harmful effects, the anxiety, the depression is an added pressure. And the increased pressure on practitioner to prescribe whitening creams or glutathione injections on the patients is also there. Now, I had a patient in my aesthetic center where a mother came and she was very sad. Her daughter was a chemical engineer and she was, her literal words were कि मैंने अपनी बेटी के ऊपर कभी कोई पैसा नहीं लगाया, बचपन से लेकर यूनिवर्सिटी तक वो हमेशा स्कॉलरशिप पे पढ़ी है, लेकिन आज मुझे उसे गोरा करने के लिए उसको इंजेक्शंस लगवाने पड़े हैं और मुझे लाखों देने पड़ रहे हैं. So that is the impact colorism is having over our society, that our ladies and our male have to go through all this trauma and challenges. Now, the conclusion to this is that we need to take the path forward. We need to think about how to tackle this. We need to have more seminars, more conversation, more discussions about it. We need to call for a change, and that change doesn't have to be over an international or a very big change. It has to start with you. Even if you go today and have a discussion with your friends and your family that from now on, I will not try judge anyone on the basis of their color or physical attributes, then I think we will make a great change with that. Thank you. I would like to give a very special thanks to my co-author, Dr. Tanzila Khalid, without whom this wouldn't be possible.